With car prices as high as they are, not everyone can afford a new one. The sensible alternative is a good used car. For some good advice on picking the previously owned car of your dreams, we once again turn to Pat Goss. Pat?
I get lots of inquiries about, is it practical to buy used cars? Well, yes, for most people it is very practical to buy a used car. See, what you do is you buy a car that's 2 or 3 years old, you let the first owner of the car take the major hit as far as the depreciation is concerned, then you get most of the useful life of the vehicle at a very reduced price. Now, the second most common question that I receive is, how do I go about buying it? Well, first you have to select what you want and what you need. Make sure that you don't try to trim it down to just exactly what you need. You have to have some luxury in the car as well. So add a few of your wants. Then you start looking at the various used car lots in your area. Once you've settled in on a particular car, the very first thing you do, you go inside the car. Now, once inside the car, you're looking for the things that are comfort related to you. Are the seats comfortable? Can you see out of the car well? Can you reach all of the controls and instruments? Is everything in the car so that it is comfortable and convenient for you? If it isn't, look for another car. Reason for that is because these many small problems that we find on cars become very major problems as time goes on. So look for another car. There are lots of them out there. Now, in addition to that, the next thing you're going to do inside this car is you're going to pull the ashtray out and you're going to see if the car belonged to a heavy smoker. If it did, you're not going to buy the car. You see, the smoke builds up in various things inside this car and it can cause lots of damage. I'm sure we've all seen cars going down the highway with the headliner, the fabric on the roof of the car, draped down over the driver's head or flapping in the breeze. Well, many times that's caused because the smoke builds up in the glue that holds that fabric in place, causes the glue to deteriorate and the headliner falls down. It can also cause damage to the seat fabrics and to the stitching that holds the seats together. Last but not least, the smoke can build up in the electronics under the dash of the car. Many of these cars have computers and other sophisticated equipment. The smoke can really do a number on them, and that can lead to problems down the road. Now, as you get out of the car, you look at the weather stripping around the doors. Now, this weather stripping can tell you a lot about the car. Is it all torn up? If it is, number one, it may mean the car has been abused. Or number two, it may mean the car has been neglected. And the reason it may mean it's been neglected is because lots of people are forgetful. They forget and they lock their keys in the car. How do they get into it? They use a coat hanger to unlock the doors. Well, that coat hanger tends to tear up this weather stripping. And if the person is so forgetful that they leave the keys in the car, they're probably also forgetful about doing preventive maintenance. Remember, there are lots of cars out here, so passing up the first one is no big deal. Now, in addition to looking at the condition of the weather stripping, look around the weather stripping and all inside the doors to see if there's any signs of paint overspray in there. That means that the car has been repainted. Now, if the car has been repainted, you need to ask questions. Why was it repainted? If the paint on the car just went bad, well, you're getting the benefit of a new paint job. But if it was repainted because the car has been in a major accident, you want to know that and you want to go on to the next car. So check it out thoroughly. Then, outside the car, look at the sides. Look at the sheet metal on the car to see if it is wavy or ripply. If it is, then you have a situation that the car has been in an accident. Again, you have to investigate it. You have to find out if the car has been in a major accident. And that's going to be the job of a technician that you're going to pay to check it out. Now, the last thing that you're going to do here is you're going to road test this car, and you're going to pay particular attention to how it performs and how it feels to you. You're not going to try to do a thorough diagnosing of it, because that's the next thing that you're going to do after your road test. You're going to take it to a technician for a thorough mechanical checkup. Now that we've completed our road test and we're comfortable in this car, we feel that it's a car that we can live with, we have now brought it to a repair shop. We're going to have a technician check this car very thoroughly. It's time to get serious about buying it. But in order to get serious, we need to know how the car shapes up mechanically. Now to do that, we're going to check everything on the car. We're going to check brakes, suspension, exhaust, all of these different things, but we're going to pay particular attention to the one really major component on this car, and that's the engine, and that's where we're going to start. We start at the engine because if there's a problem there, there isn't any sense wasting money to have the other components checked. Now, in checking the engine, the first thing the technician does is to remove the oil filler cap. Now look at the bottom side of the oil filler cap to see if there's a buildup of sludge on it. If there is, you look down inside the valve cover. Now, inside the valve cover, we're also looking for any signs of dirt or sludge buildup. Now, we may have a problem here because on some cars we can't see down inside that valve cover. In a case like that, especially if there's dirt on the underside of the oil filler cap, we need to pay the technician to remove the valve cover, look down inside that engine to see the condition of it. If it's dirty in there, don't buy the car. Now, next thing the technician is going to do, remove the dipstick from the oil portion of the engine, from the crankcase. Look at the condition of the oil on the end of that dipstick. Is it all lumpy? Is it gritty feeling? If it is, that means the car has had poor maintenance. Go on to a different car. Remember, there are lots of used cars out there. Now, if these things pass, next thing is to go to the radiator cap. Remove the radiator cap. Look at the bottom side of it. Is it all brown and rusty looking? Look down into the radiator itself. Is it brown and rusty looking in there? If it's dirty and rusty looking inside the radiator, again, that indicates that the car has been poorly maintained. That means that you want to look toward another used car. As I've said before, remember there are lots of used cars out there. Now, if the car passes this portion of the testing, it's time for the technician to check lots of other things. Belts, hoses, is the battery good? Does the alternator charge properly? Are the lights and the wipers and all of those things in good operating condition? Now, in addition to stuff like that, the technician has to go underneath the car, and one of the first things that is looked at is to see if the car has been in any kind of a major accident. This is determined by wrinkles in the frame rails underneath the car or places that have been cut and welded back together. If it's been in a major accident, again, look toward another car. If it hasn't been, then the technician goes on into checking things like brakes and suspension and steering and exhaust and so on. Now, all of these things are normal repair areas, and what you're looking for there is simply to find out what's wrong and to get a written estimate from the technician as to what it would cost to repair these items. Now, you take this written estimate back to the dealership and you use that in your negotiations for the final pricing of the car. Now, if you do all of this, you can get a very good used car, and you can have real success, save a lot of money over the life of the vehicle.